Kids today will never understand what life was like in the 80s and 90s. The smartphone has replaced dozens of technologies that were once part of everyday life. If you hand any of these devices to a kid today, they'd have absolutely no clue what to do with them. From rewinding tapes with a pencil to waiting 20 minutes for a single photo to load, the 80s and 90s were a completely different world. Today, we're counting down 20 things from that era that kids today will never understand. If you remember these, congratulations, you're officially old school. Let's dive in. Number 20. Rewinding VHS tapes. Rewinding VHS tapes before returning them to the video store. Kids today will never understand this ritual. The Video Home System, or VHS, revolutionized watching movies at home. By the 1980s, VCRs were in many households. You could watch movies and record your favorite shows. But here's what kids today will never get. You had to rewind the tape when you were done. Video stores had signs everywhere. Be kind, please rewind. Some people even bought separate rewinding machines because using your VCR to rewind would wear it out. Imagine explaining to a kid that you couldn't just click next episode. You had to physically rewind magnetic tape. They'll never understand the panic of returning a tape you forgot to rewind and facing the wrath of the video store clerk. Number 19. Dial-up internet. The screeching sound of dial-up internet. Kids today will never understand this sound or the patience it required. Before cable internet and Wi-Fi, people used their analog telephone line to connect to the internet. After dialing a number, the computer would use the modem to send and receive information. If you ever used one of these, patience was essential. The connection was often slow, broken, and interrupted. And here's the kicker. The phone couldn't be used at the same time to make calls. Kids today, who stream 4K video on 3 devices simultaneously while gaming online, they'll never know the struggle of waiting 20 minutes to load a single image or getting yelled at by your parents for blocking the phone line. Number 18. Cassette tapes and pencils. Using a pencil to fix a cassette tape. Kids today will never understand this life skill. The audio cassette first came out in 1963. These allowed users to listen to music and make their own recordings. They were durable and portable, and worked in the home, the car, and just about anywhere. But tapes would get tangled or eaten by the player. When this happened, you'd grab a pencil, stick it in one of the holes, and manually wind the tape back in. It was delicate surgery. Kids today who fix problems by turning things off and back on, they'll never comprehend the precision required to save a tangled cassette tape with a number 2 pencil. Number 17. Making mixtapes for someone you liked. Kids today will never understand this romantic gesture. This was the ultimate way to show someone you cared in the 80s and 90s. You'd sit by the radio for hours waiting for that perfect song, then frantically hit record at just the right moment. Or you'd use a dual cassette deck to copy songs from various tapes. Then you'd carefully write out the track list, maybe decorate the case, and give it to your crush. It took hours of effort and careful curation. Today, kids just share a Spotify playlist link in 2 seconds. They'll never understand the dedication it took to create the perfect mixtape. Number 16. The Walkman.
Will it rewind and fast forward?
The Sony Walkman, and carrying your entire music collection. Kids today will never understand the physical burden of music. The Walkman came out in 1979 and made it possible for everyone to listen to their own personal music without disturbing anyone else. But here's what kids will never get. You had to carry bulky cases full of tapes everywhere. Want to listen to a different album? Better hope you brought that tape with you. No shuffle, no playlists, just whatever cassette you physically had. Kids today with 50,000 songs in their pocket will never understand the strategic planning required to pack the right tapes for a road trip. Number 15. Blockbuster nights.
Did I get a phone? So pick up a movie from Blockbuster and make it a block.
Friday night trips to Blockbuster. Kids today will never understand this weekly ritual. Before streaming, if you wanted to watch a movie at home, you had to physically drive to a video rental store. You'd browse the aisles, hoping your movie wasn't already rented out. New releases were always gone by Friday evening, unless you called ahead to reserve one. Then you had to return it within a few days, or face late fees. Kids today, who have thousands of movies instantly available on Netflix, they'll never know the disappointment of arriving at Blockbuster only to find every copy of the movie you wanted was already rented. Number 14. Floppy disks. Floppy disks and their ridiculously tiny storage. Kids today will never understand data limitations. Long before thumb drives and the cloud, computer users needed floppy disks to save their work or files. They could hold up to 2.8 megabytes. Kids today have phones with 256 gigabytes of storage. That's about 90,000 floppy disks worth of storage in their pocket. Try explaining to them that you once had to carry around a stack of 10 floppy disks just to install one program. Number 13. TV guides and appointment television.
Maria, Patricia's going to help today demonstrate some facial exercises.
Terrific.
TV guide magazines and appointment television. Kids today will never understand scheduled programming. There was no binge watching in the 80s and 90s. Shows aired at specific times, and if you missed it, you waited for the rerun. Families bought TV guide magazines to see what was on each week. You'd circle the shows you wanted to watch and plan your entire week around them. Kids today who watch entire seasons in one weekend, they'll never understand gathering around the TV at exactly 8 p.m. on Thursday because that's when your favorite show aired. Number 12. Pagers and beepers. Pagers and beepers and speaking in number codes. Kids today will never understand numerical communication. In the 1980s and 90s, pagers were common. Most pagers only displayed phone numbers, so people developed codes. 143 meant, I love you. 911 meant, emergency. And 07734 spelled hello when you turned the pager upside down. Kids today who can send videos, voice notes, and GIFs instantly, they'll never understand the creativity it took to communicate using only numbers on a tiny screen. Number 11. Encyclopedias.
Pop on that 800 number?
I thought we might, yes.
Right on cue.
To find out how you can own the new Encyclopedia Britannica,
Encyclopedia sets and actually having to go to the library for research. Kids today will never understand information scarcity. Before Google and Wikipedia, if you needed information for a school project, you had two options. Use your family's encyclopedia set, if you were lucky enough to have one, or go to the library. Encyclopedia Britannica sets were expensive. They cost thousands of dollars. Kids today who can ask Alexa any question or Google anything in 2 seconds, they'll never know the frustration of your encyclopedia not having the information you needed. Number 10. Disposable cameras, and waiting a week to see your photos. Kids today will never understand photographic commitment. Before smartphone cameras, if you wanted to take pictures at a party or vacation, you'd buy a disposable camera with 24 or 36 exposures. You had to make every shot count. Then you'd take the entire camera to a store, drop it off, and wait a week to get your prints back. Here's the kicker. You had no idea if the photos turned out well until you picked them up. Kids today who take 50 selfies to get one good one, they'll never understand the anxiety of hoping your vacation photos actually develop. Number 9. Calling movie phone.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone.
Calling movie phone to find out movie times. Kids today will never understand pre-internet movie planning. Want to see a movie in the 90s? You couldn't just check an app. You had to call movie phone 777-FILM and listen to a recorded voice list, every movie playing in your area and every showtime. Or you'd check the newspaper's movie section. At the theater, you'd wait in line at the box office, sometimes for an hour, and hope the showing wasn't sold out. Kids today who reserve seats online, they'll never experience the gamble of showing up at a theater not knowing if you'd even get in. Number 8. Landlines and busy signals. Landlines, busy signals, and accidentally calling the wrong number. Kids today will never understand shared phone lines. Every house had one phone number, and it was tied to a physical phone attached to the wall with a cord. Want privacy? You'd stretch that coiled cord as far as it would go. But here's what kids won't understand. If someone was on the phone, you got a busy signal. You couldn't leave a voicemail. There was no caller ID. so you never knew who was calling until you picked up. Kids today with unlimited texts and video calls on their personal phones, they'll never know the politics of sharing one phone line with an entire family. Number 7. CD players that skipped. CD players that skipped if you moved wrong. Kids today will never understand stationary listening. After the Sony Walkman, the Sony Discman came out. It was a portable CD player, but you couldn't run with them or use them in the car, or they would skip while playing music. CDs would easily scratch, and a scratched CD was basically useless. Kids today who stream music while running, jumping, and skateboarding, they'll never know the careful, delicate walk required to keep your Discman from skipping. Number 6. Printing MapQuest directions. Printing MapQuest directions and actually getting lost. Before GPS and smartphones, if you needed to drive somewhere unfamiliar, you'd go on MapQuest, enter the address, and print out turn-by-turn directions. If you missed one turn, you were lost. There was no recalculating. You'd have to pull over, unfold a giant paper map, and try to figure out where you went wrong. Kids today who have Google Maps verbally telling them where to turn, they'll never experience the terror of being hopelessly lost in an unfamiliar city with only a crumpled piece of paper to guide you. Number 5. Answering machines.
Pick it up, Rink. I know you're there.
Answering machines and the art of call screening. Before voicemail was built into phones, you'd buy a separate answering machine that recorded messages on a mini cassette tape. But here's what kids today won't understand. You could hear the message as it was being recorded. This led to call screening. You'd sit there listening to someone leave a message and decide mid-message if you wanted to pick up. Kids today, who just don't answer and text back, "What's up?" miss out on this perfect system. Number 4. Slow computers. Screensavers and computers that took 5 minutes to start. In the 90s, computers had screensavers, animated images that would appear when your computer was idle, flying toasters, a 3D maze, bouncing logos. Starting up your computer was a whole process. You'd press the power button and wait, and wait, and wait. Maybe 5 minutes later, you'd get to your desktop. Modern kids with instant-on devices, they'd lose their minds waiting for Windows 95 to boot up. Number 3. Fax machines.
Press the copy button, tell it one copy, like that, and then it will copy that.
Fax phones to fit the small business environment. There are fax and a phone all in one.
Fax machines and waiting for documents. Kids today will never understand document transmission. Before email attachments, if you needed to send a document quickly, you used a fax machine. You'd place your paper in the machine, dial the recipient's fax number, and it would scan and send the document over a phone line. It was revolutionary at the time, but you had to physically be near a fax machine. The machines used special thermal paper that would fade over time. Kids who airdrop files in seconds will never comprehend the complexity. Number 2. Personal data assistants.
But for really smart, check out this Palm handheld from CompUSA. It manages your calendar, gets email.
Personal data assistants, or PDAs, and their styluses. PDAs were quite popular in the late 90s and early 2000s. They held various pieces of information like names and phone numbers. They helped people set reminders and manage their time. But here's what kids won't get. You had to sync your PDA with your computer using a special cradle. All your data lived on the device. If you lost your Palm Pilot, you lost everything. No cloud backup. And number 1. No internet equals no answers. The simple fact that questions didn't have instant answers. This is the biggest thing kids today will never understand. When you had a question in the 80s and 90s, any question, you couldn't just Google it. What actor was in that movie? You'd have to wait until you could find someone who knew, or check the library. How do you cook this recipe? You'd need a cookbook or call your mom. Arguments would last for days because no one could prove who was right. You'd literally say, "I'll look it up when I get home," and then forget. Boredom was real. sitting in a waiting room with nothing to do, driving in a car with no entertainment. Information moved slowly. If something happened in another country, you'd find out the next day when the news aired. Kids today who can ask Siri any question, look up any fact in seconds, and have unlimited entertainment in their pocket, they've never experienced the patience and creativity required to live in a world without instant access to all human knowledge. The 80s and 90s weren't better or worse. They were just fundamentally different. We had to be more resourceful, more patient, and more present. And honestly, that made some things frustrating, but it also made some things special. Quick bonus mentions. Blowing into Nintendo cartridges to make them work. The terrifying sound of logging onto AOL when your parents were sleeping. Recording songs off the radio and getting the DJ talking at the beginning. Writing checks at grocery stores. TV static and adjusting rabbit ear antennas. Having only 4 TV channels. And rolling down car windows with a manual crank. The 80s and 90s were a wild time. Technology has evolved dramatically in just a few decades. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you lived through one of the most radical technological transformations in human history. You remember life before the internet, before smartphones, before everything was instant. What did I miss? What other 80s and 90s things would completely baffle kids today? Share your memories in the comments. If this hit you with nostalgia, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We explore pop culture, technology, and how much the world has changed. Thanks for watching. And remember, if you can fix a cassette tape with a pencil, you've earned your stripes.